Welcome back to the number three, Veterans Claims Ambush. In this video, I'm going to pick up with the claim form. We were on page 4. I'd gone through a little bit of Stephen Hawking's dilemma, the great professor. And I wanted to take a look at this page in its breadth, from top to bottom. When I ask you, can you read this? Can you understand this? I do so with a purpose. Many of you with a high school education have the reading ability of about a 6th or an 8th grader from 123 years ago, in 1900. There's a reason for this. I'm not knocking you. And I'm not talking about the poor quality of American education. Here's the point. In 1900, the world was much smaller. You have skills that did not exist in 1900. You can work with computers. You are watching this probably on a mobile device, a smartphone. You have devices around your house that did not exist, whether it be a refrigerator, an LED light bulb. The world is much wider for you. There are things you are concerned with, rightly so, that grab your attention. When something grabs your attention, it necessarily pushes aside other things. So if you are a professional baseball player, when you are on the field, you should not be thinking about what kind of mileage does your car get. You should not be thinking about the big debate in Congress regarding fill in the blanks. You should be thinking about baseball. Your day is very different from someone's day in 1900. In 1900, there was a magazine published in London called The Strand, S-T-R-A-N-D, magazine. People would wait in line to buy it because in it were serial novels by Arthur Conan Doyle, Charles Dickens. Those names may not be familiar to you. They are literary authors. Doyle, Sherlock Holmes, Dickens, great novels. You may never have read any of their work. Do you see the point? Your day is consumed with different things. Your reading skills are not necessarily the things you are most concerned about when you are driving down a highway at 60 to 80 miles per hour to go to work, or taking a subway or a bus. You are not reading. You have other things that are on your mind, and you are looking at a fast-paced world. Now, with that in mind, take a look at page 4. This comes out of the year 1900. Look at the size of the print. Okay? Evidence tables. It's still easy. Where can you go to get a short, fast explanation of how this system works? And the answer is you cannot find one because this is the way it was designed. If you do your own income tax forms, you are looking at a system of logic in those forms that was devised in about 1920, about 103 years ago. Do you understand the mentality behind this? It is 100-year-old thinking. It doesn't matter what the law says. Look what they say about you. You have to provide medical evidence or lay evidence of persistent and recurrent symptoms of disability that are visible or observable. So what happens if you have recurrent and worsening PTSD that is not visible? How can it be described other than with lay symptoms, your symptoms? So you do many things during the day. This is all they do. Now we go to page 5. What exactly is this? Now we go into secondary service condition. Let's say you had a broken leg. You got bounced off a truck during a training exercise. You fell on a flight deck. You got knocked over on the flight line by high wind or jet exhaust. You were driving a tank around and suddenly the tread came off. It spun and fell. The helicopter bounced when it landed. I could go on and on. The leg heals, the break. 15 years later, you begin to notice the knee above the break or below the break isn't functioning the same. That's 15 years later. 20 years later, when you are no longer in the military, the knee becomes almost unbearable. The broken leg may have a service-connected disability, but now the knee has gone because of the broken leg. It took a long time to manifest, and you bore it for a while, but the knee is now secondary to the break. Do you see that explained here in plain English? So you have to go through this whole claim process about your knee. It may be 20 years since you were on active duty. Where are your medical records? Now, we go into when you can file, how to maybe file. You can have temporary total disability ratings. I'll give you an example of a really quick one. Let's go back to that knee. So the VA says, okay, the knee is bad. We've taken x-rays, if they bother. We will agree that the knee is secondary. So you go to have the knee repaired with an operation. You will be laid up for 3 days. You may have 3 days. You can't work, you can't do anything. So for those 3 days, do you understand? You may have temporary total disability rating. You may, but you may not. It all depends on whom you are dealing with. This is only page 5. Let's go to page 6. You know, they don't have to agree with you if you were injured in the service because of carelessness, negligence, lack of proper skill, error in judgment, or not a reasonably expected result or complication of the VA care or treatment. If you were negligent, or if they say you were negligent, get it? Who decides? What does negligent mean? If a plane goes down from pilot error, is that negligence? Error in judgment. What exactly does that mean? Do you see it defined here? No, you don't. All right. Let's go down through this page. More and more small print. You can ask for special monthly compensation. You can ask for specially adapted housing. They don't have to give you anything. Page 7. We're back with specially adapted housing or special home adaptation. In the Russian army, if you are seriously wounded, it is not considered an act of mercy. It is considered expediency that you be dispatched on the field. In other words, your commander may walk up and finish you off because you're not going to get very much medical care. Nobody goes to Russia to have medical care. Traditional ratio, 1 killed in action means you'll have 2 seriously wounded and maybe 2 lightly wounded. Lightly wounded, after recuperating, will be back on the field. The 2 seriously wounded probably will not. The experience with helicopter extractions and then major hospitals within hours of flight on specially equipped, basically hospital transport planes. The ratio is about, if 1 is killed in action, then you'll have maybe 5 to 8 who are seriously wounded, who otherwise would have died in World War II, certainly in World War I. But they survive. Amputations, excellent medical care, emergency medical care, as the patient is bounced around from theater of operations through the evacuation system, ending up at Ramstein, up in Germany, or else a major hospital in the United States. There are many more people walking around as a result who have been seriously wounded who will survive. That's what specially adapted housing or special home adaptation is about. Then we come down to auto allowance. We're talking mostly about amputations, spinal injuries, and so forth. Does any of what I have just said, plain English, appear here? Do you see here where they start setting limitations? To have a qualifying condition, here you must have loss or permanent, you can't use it, permanent disability of at least a foot or a hand. And it goes on and on and on. You are within a framework that they are constructing. And they do not have to agree if the injury, according to their view, was caused by your negligence, right? Error in judgment, carelessness. All right? We're up to page 8 of small print. How the VA determines the disability rating. VA uses a schedule. We're going to talk about the schedule. Oh, they didn't put it here. Where is the schedule? Oh, I guess they forgot. I think you'll be amazed at the schedule. That will be for the next installment, which is going to be number 4.